Am I up?
Yeah.
Up now?
Yeah.
Genius. We're almost there. Maybe there's a treat at the end of all this because you put up with a lot of stuff. There's tattoos. I got pregnant the first time I ever had sex. Call it luck of the draw. Actually, call it luck of the withdraw, because that's really what it was. Or wasn't. Let me explain. I was 17, and I had it all figured out. I thought of myself as being very well-rounded, because I was told I was. I was an effortless B student, meaning I got a B without having to do much, and so why make the effort for the A? I had no interest in going to Harvard, and all that extra time studying would have cut into my student council activities, my rehearsals for the Music Man, and my campaign to become captain of the dance line. Yes, I won. I was involved in everything, hence, I was popular. So obviously, I couldn't get pregnant. I had the lead in the school play. I was in student government. I had pom-poms in my room. Girls like me were just too busy to get pregnant. An egg couldn't survive in a body this active. I know, my lack of attention in sex ed is showing. But I didn't have to listen in sex ed. I was 17. I had it all figured out. It was only those burnout girls that got pregnant. You know, the ones who I mean with the bleach blonde, crispy feathered hair and the Britannia jeans. Those girls whose boyfriends swam at the public beach in their long pants. And rolled up their Marlboros in those t-shirt sleeves. My boyfriend was a hockey player who wore a leather jacket to the beach. Plus, I had Catholic sex education on my side. And since basically that consisted of one movie about why we bleed, and the only detail I really learned about premarital sex and birth control was during sermons, and that they were sins. The lack of explanation of what they actually were led me to believe there were sins that only plagued those unfortunate Lutheran girls. But then I was sent to public high school, and I fell prey to the influence of those slutty Lutherans. I gave in. But I was 17. I had it all figured out. If I used birth control and have sex, I would be committing 2 sins. So, I did what anyone with a shred of insight would do. Minimize my sinning. I opted to commit 1 sin. The one that was more fun. When I missed my period, I thought it was due to the stress from the activities we popular girls involved ourselves in. I just figured God was smiling down upon me and held me up to the monthly bloodbath because, you know, I was just too busy. And then the 2nd month rolled around, and again, no period. But because I had it all figured out, I wasn't scared, I was just puzzled. And I began to think, I should really find out that I'm not pregnant. But how? There was no one to talk to. I mean, Mom would have sent me somewhere wayward girls go to be branded as wayward girls for all of eternity. And my friends, we never really talked about sex with one another. We were all good girls and lived the lie that we didn't put out and thought people really believed that shit. And in requisite high school form, I'd seen girls vanish to social Siberia for wearing painter's pants after Labor Day. So even a hint of gossip this good might spread faster than all of our legs on prom night. And so much has changed since then. I mean, today, MTV has a show called 16 and Pregnant, which responsibly makes reality stars out of knocked up teens. And home pregnancy tests, they are so last century. I mean, nowadays, I think there's an app that calls your iPhone to warn you that if you finish that third Cosmo, you may wind up with a womb mate. But back then, in 1978, there was no MTV, and home pregnancy tests weren't just pee on a stick and panic. It was a 2-hour chem lab that was not conducive to either my very busy schedule or hiding it from my mom. Plus, the $10 price tag was pretty steep, and every penny I earned waitressing at Woolworth was going to those satin track shorts I had on layaway at Boxmore Casuals. I loved those satin track shorts. But Liz, you ask, you were captain of the dance line. Why didn't you just raid the car wash fund you had going for those new costumes? Because that was for costumes. Why are you so dishonest? I'm ashamed of you. But luckily for me, I had an expert source for all things sex-related. My devoted hockey player boyfriend. He would have the answer. He always did. What the fuck? Weren't you on something? He asked with all the loving concern that so many guys with a mullet have. I was on you. I thought gravity would prevent something like this. Well, you dumb bitch, you're on your own here. And I'm not driving you home. Hockey players are known for their brevity. It was not a brevity I had hoped for. As I rode home on the number 6 bus from my now ex-boyfriend's house, I was overcome with one of my emptiness headaches. Without him, there was no one to talk to, no one who knew, and no one left to tell me I was not pregnant. I had nowhere to turn. My head was now so heavy with the weight of my fear, I could barely hold it up. God, that pounding. Each thump reminding me I was on my own. The sound seemed to say, dumb bitch, banging on my skull on the bitch. I slunk into my seat and I leaned my head against the window of the bus, trying to find some relief, and then I looked up. Between the ad for some kind of We Treat Feet place and a continuing education banner, I saw the Southwest Care Clinic. Free pregnancy testing, choices, options. I thought I was dreaming. Could it be I had a guardian angel? Marie, and it was only about 6 blocks from my house. No raiding the satin shorts fund to find out I was not pregnant. God was smiling on me again. No one needed to know I had sex. I could still live that good girl lie. My head immediately began deflating. The dumb bitch mantra went from a roar to a whisper. The sign was a sign. Clearly, a dumb bitch would not have recognized this. 10 minutes later, I arrived. I walked in and I found I was the only patient. No lines, no waiting. Another sign. There wasn't a receptionist area per se, and I wasn't greeted by anyone, but I found comfort in the homey decor. It looked more like a basement den than a clinic. There were plaid couches, dark wood paneling, and a glass coffee table strewn with some magazines about Christianity. Bonus! They're Christians, but you're sort of like Catholics. So clearly they would understand this was not to be talked about. A small placard sat on the coffee table and read something like, the restroom is on the first floor, or the restroom is the first door on the left. Cups are provided for your urine sample. When you are finished, leave it on the back of the tank and clean up any residual urine. Someone will be out to see you shortly. I followed all the instructions, left no residual anything, and I sat down on the scratchy plaid couch. As I looked around the room, I noticed there was no medical brochures, no posters of the human body, no big plastic heart, nothing that you'd normally see in a doctor's office. I suddenly didn't like the feeling of being in someone's den. I wanted to feel like I was in a doctor's office. As I looked around the room, my fear headache started to intensify. because some of the artwork was the same artwork we had in our home. There was the pair of those uninviting, creepy bronze mounted hands. You know, the ones that are cut off the wrist, seem to say, like to help you, can't. And the only heart I saw displayed anywhere was a thorn-covered one like the one in our house, and was even scarier because it had a cord that made it light up. I was pretty sure that eventually if I stared at this one long enough, it might start throbbing, and then eventually shoot blood at me. The thumping in my head got louder, this time chanting dumb whore, with the word whore more intensely than bitch, and it crashed against my cranium like the waves breaking on a Scottish cliffside. Why don't I feel safe here, I wondered, but I could barely register any thought over the horror storm in my brain. It briefly subsided when from behind the door plastered with the Footprints poem, that classic Christian story of Jesus strolling, then carrying someone on Malibu Beach. A woman who wore a white lab coat emerged, carrying a clipboard and a huge book. I felt a bit of relief. A doctor was here to make everything okay. It wasn't until much later that I realized everyone who sells Clinique at Macy's also wears a lab coat, and that she was not a doctor. The woman sat next to me and said, "We have your test results and they're positive." Gone was the pounding, "Yes! Positive!" Thinking positive for me. "Well, good, because you're going to have a baby," she said. "What? Okay, that's not positive. That is negative. She should have said it's negative. The test was negative. Negative should be positive in this situation." Bang, whore, bang, it starts up again. Now she continued with the positive news, and she opened up the atlas-sized book she carried. "I want to show you some pictures of your baby," she said, as if we were about to peruse a collection of fabric swatches. "Pictures?" I said. "From my pee?" She went on, "This is the size of your baby now." And I looked at the picture. It was a baby, but it was a huge, mutilated, stillborn baby. And before I could spit out anything like, "What is this? And where am I storing it?" she turned the page and said, "And this is your baby in 5 months." And I swear to God, it was a picture of a 6-year-old kid on a bike. Now the pounding in my head was relentless as I thought to myself, none of this makes sense. I have a 22-inch waist. How's the bike gonna get in there? My confusion was unbearable and her detachment was bone-chilling as she closed the book and calmly said, "So you have a life to think about now." Well, that's what I am thinking about. Thinking about my life, I thought. Isn't that what we're thinking about? My life? Isn't anything about what I want? But what about my life? What about I would be bad at being a mom? Maybe she would want to know that. Maybe she should ask me. I could tell her the stories of babysitting dolls. I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. What are my choices? I just blurted out through the cacophony in my brain. "You already made choices," the doctor said. I didn't know what to do. Do I tell her I chose to commit only one sin? I thought I had it all figured out. I babbled to her what I believed to be a very compelling reason I couldn't be a mom again, with the choir practice and the student council and the pom-poms and the boyfriend, and I didn't have a boyfriend now. And each straw I grabbed seemed to have the weight of 1,000 pounds, and so like a fish out of water, I finally gave up the fight, and I just spit out what I needed to say. But I don't want a baby. I never want a baby. I can't have a baby. I shouldn't be a mom. I would be a terrible mom. I want something else for my life, and I need your help. That's why I'm here. We offer lots of